Why are your shoulders rounded? If you have noticed, gosh, I feel like my shoulders are always rounded. I've been trying to like work on my posture, stand up straight, like, you know, shoulder blades back, all the things. You're doing the rows, the I's, the T's, the Y's, all that sort of stuff. But you still just feel like you perpetually have these rounded shoulders. This could be part of the reason why. I think when we're talking about these things, it's really important to get some background on how the shape of the rib cage is going to affect the position of everything on it or around it. When we are talking about the shoulder blades, I am going to refer to them in positions of internal rotation and external rotation. Don't get scared, I promise we're not getting super fancy. But what you want to think about with internal rotation, if this is my spine, it means that the shoulder blade is coming away from the spine, okay? So more towards the front of your body. So if this is the front of my shoulder blade, and this is the front of my body right here, okay? This is my spine. This way is internal rotation. You can think about like in towards your boobs or whatever, in towards the front of your body, all right? So internal rotation. Now, when the scap is in more internal rotation, why does that happen? Okay, a few reasons. Number one, because you have dropped this down because you've got tightness right here, or because you are trying to navigate a position of your pelvis. I know you're like, well, I thought we're talking about my shoulders. Why are you now referring to my pelvis? What I want you to remember with all of this stuff is that we're talking about how your body manages pressure and gravity. Your body is going to do whatever it needs to do to, number one, keep you breathing because your body wants to keep you alive. And number two, it is also going to do whatever it needs to do to basically allow you to do the movements that you ask it to do. So when you want to walk forward, your body is going to do whatever it needs to do to allow you to walk forward without falling on your face or without falling backwards and things of that nature. So remember that nothing happens in a silo. I know I keep saying that, but it's so important for you to understand that the position of the pelvis affects the rib cage and vice versa, and then things that happen proximally or closer to the center affect things that happen further out. So it's really crazy, but sometimes we can fix something in the rib cage and like the wrist feels better. So I know you may be like, what? But I'll save that for another day. But for now, what I want you to think about are those internal rotations of the scap, okay? Now, why does this happen? Because the chest wall is compressed. Why is the chest wall compressed? Well, the chest wall may have done this because the pelvis has come forward. Or we could be in a big anterior tilt here. We've got more compression here. And then now we've dropped down here because this is all a way our body is using to manage pressure. There's so many different scenarios and so many different things that happen. It would be beyond the scope of what I can explain right now, but just know that that position of the scap on the rib cage is telling us, hey, pressure is not going really nicely 360 degrees inside the rib cage. A lot of times, rounded scap means compression here, okay? Compression here means less movement in the upper anterior ribs, so that pump handle. Anything that you're doing for pump handle will help with the position of the scap. As you're able to get the position of the scap situated a little better on your rib cage, you're going to have less of this, okay? When we have less of this, then the muscles that are around the scap are not as eccentrically oriented or lengthened, and that means that the scap gets pulled into the rib cage, serratus gets really nicely attached, and we'll talk a lot more about serratus later, and the pressure isn't only going through the back. So you might notice too that sometimes people have a little more rounded shoulders and they get that kind of hump right here. All that's really kind of telling us a lot of times is like, hey, all their pressure is going back that way. And if we can get some more pressure when they're breathing, because we breathe 20,000 plus times a day, moving through these ribs right here, then over time, not overnight. Over time, we will be able to start to see a change in posture because we have essentially started to correct it from the inside out.